making it hot or cold and maybe wet outside. So today, we're going to get way out there with the game and find out how the weather above affects the land below. In real estate, they say the three most important things are location, location, and location. Well, the same thing's true with weather. If you live at the North Pole, you can pretty much count on being cold, right? And if you go visit your buddies at the equator, it's probably safe to leave the winter clothes at home. Pretty simple. Where you live on the planet basically determines what kind of weather you get. Now, wrap your mind around this. The kind of weather you get helps shape the land where you live. I know, it's a lot to swallow, so let's get rolling and hook up with the gang. They've covered a lot of ground to get the lowdown on how our weather shapes the world around us.
The planet blue. From a distance, it looks like a smooth, shiny new marble hanging in the darkness of space. Take a closer look, though, and you start to see it's not so smooth at all. It's mountains that soar up into the atmosphere, deserts that stretch for thousands of miles, and canyons as deep as oceans. It's a pretty impressive planet we call home here, but it's not really so new, and it's changing all the time.
Basically, the Earth has three different types of features. You know the first one pretty well, living features. In other words, you and me. That also means plants and animals in addition to humans. Life forms thrive in different parts of the planet, and these large environments where plants and animals live are called biomes. Second are physical features, which are mountains, rivers, valleys, oceans, and stuff. And last are atmospheric features, you know, like the weather that goes on above your head. Now there's all different kinds of weather, and the specific areas of the planet tend to have a certain type of weather, and that's called a climate.
Climate is the usual or average weather of a place. Climate influences what kind of plants and animals can live in an area. It even determines how well humans can exist there. There are two main factors that determine what a climate will be: temperature and precipitation, like rain, snow, sleet, and hail, the wet stuff. So, your climate depends on how hot it gets, how cold it gets, and how wet it gets. A climate can range from very extreme conditions to very comfy. Some are cold with no precipitation, like polar climates. Others are hot with lots of rain, like tropical climates. Some are hot with very little rain at all, or what we like to call arid climates.
This climate is definitely arid. In America's southwest desert, temperatures can reach over 120 degrees Fahrenheit, or 49 degrees Celsius. Months can pass with little or no rain falling, and because this region usually has low humidity and few clouds, there's nothing to limit daytime heating and nighttime cooling. So the days are hot and the nights are cold. Now let's check in with Brandon, who's always in his own world, but this time he's also in his own climate. Hope you brought your sunscreen, Brandon.
Oh, Brandon here, suffering through another assignment with a weather classroom. On location in Hawaii. Hey, don't look at me like that. This is a real job. Now, believe it or not, I'm not here just to work on my tan. No, I'm here because Hawaii is the perfect place to study radically different climates. Now, you might think that this place is all rainforest. Well, guess again. Now, right here in this forest, it rains about 200 inches a year. But just on the other side of the island, there are places that get less than 10 inches of rain. So you know what that means? It means that you have totally opposite climates in one really small geographic area. Meanwhile, just a few miles away, it's a lot colder here, about 13,000 feet up on top of Mauna Kea. It's an entirely different kind of climate. Oh, you see what I mean? This place is climate central. Well, I think purely in the interest of science that I'm gonna head back down to the bottom quickly and see one of my favorite Hawaiian climates. Taxi! Much better. This is what I call a climate, scientifically speaking, of course.
Should realize when they look at the weather of a particular area is don't go by simple assumptions based on where they're located. There's so many complex variables that impact the weather for a specific location, where they are, what kind of terrain they have, if they're in the tropics or northern, if they're in an oceanic area. All those impacts have a tremendous effect on the weather that people experience in a certain area. Hawaii experiences such a wide variety of weather. It is truly amazing. And most of that is due to that we're in the middle of the Pacific. It's 2,000 miles from the nearest landmass. We're surrounded by water, a lot of moisture, but we have a great deal of difference in elevation between the islands. We go all the way from sea level to mountains of 13,000 feet. On the Big Island itself, which is almost like a midi-continent, it has rainforests with over 200 inches of rain a year, to deserts with cactus and 10 inches of rain, to mountain peaks with polar tundra. Then we have downslope areas where very dry on the leeward sides. We have upslope valley areas where it's very wet. So a tremendous variation on a very small island. Weather just doesn't impact whether you're on a picnic or something, but it impacts the basic way we live.
Don't go away. The Weather Classroom will be right back.